Hello, everybody. It's me, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. It's Monday, October 23rd. I have to apologize for getting this subscriber or emailer encounter story out a little late. I usually do these on Saturday. However, this Saturday I went live about 8 in the morning. I had a terrible nightmare, so I went live and talked about it. For those of you that saw the video, the live show, and offer me suggestions and comments, I do thank you for that, because it's food for thought and something for me to ponder. So you know who you are, and thank you for that. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Offer your thoughts. This takes place in New York, the Hudson Valley, Appalachian Trail. I've got mixed emotions on this. This story about an alleged Dogman werewolf. I think it was a shapeshifter myself of some sort. Is both an emotional journey. It's an emotional roller coaster. It's sad in some parts, terrifying in the other parts. This man has no closure. He goes by Ted in the email, and I'm in communication with this man. And this is just a gripping story. Please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. Give me a thumbs up, like me, share me out. The super thanks is open should you care to donate. And of course, again, my book, you can find it on Amazon. Bigfoot Michigan Rob presents true cryptid encounters. The link is in this video, and you can simply type that in on your browser on Amazon. So I'm going to get started. Thank you for watching. The sun rose, and I got up to go to my barn to pull out my tractor to cut my property's lawn, which is a rather sizable quarter acre, which was something I always look forward to doing. I live in the Hudson Valley, with the Appalachian mountain range serving as a glorious background that I was quite proud to purchase back in the early 1980s. Before I proceed further about this horrific scene that I fell witness to at my barn, the year was 2015 in June. I would like to mention for this email that I shall go with the name of Ted, age 42 at the time, my wife Tina, 39, and my son Brad, age 16. We owned a German Shepherd, Spike, and had a beautiful 4-year-old American quarter horse named Brownie. Named Brownie because of the beautiful glossy brown colorings on his coat. An exquisite animal that was loved and welcomed as our family pet just as much as our dog Spike. It was 6:30 a.m., and I could smell the fresh coffee being brewed by my wife. The smell of sizzling bacon filled my nostrils. What a great day to start. I thought this out loud. I had planned to mow the property, saddle up Brownie, and trek through the valley to the foothills of the mountain range to scout an area to take the family camping the following day. The grass had been much longer than I usually kept it, as I was 1 week behind due to an out-of-town business trip that took me away from my usual maintenance of the property. The dew dampened the grass as my work boots were soiled more than usual. My approach to the barn left me extremely apprehensive, as I noticed that the barn doors appeared to be torn off the hinges. Both doors appeared to be literally flung a good 10 feet from the entrance of the building. What made this very alarming was each door weighed well over 100 pounds, and with their positioning laying upon the ground, it would have taken tremendous force and strength. The weather was calm. No high winds, nor were there any storms from the prior night. My heart raced with each step towards the structure. I immediately worried about Brownie. I knew he would not roam far from the barn, but that he had to be extremely nervous. Upon entrance to the barn, Brownie was not in sight. A pit in my stomach swelled as I immediately ran out of the barn, looking about the property, calling his name. Yet my prized horse was nowhere to be found. I rushed back to the house and told Tina what had happened, got my son out of bed, and sped off on our terrain vehicle in search of our family pet. We sped northerly from the valley, and after about 100 yards, right to the base of the woodline, there, Brownie laid. This is where I get emotional. In fact, Rob, in writing this email, this is where I stopped for an hour to regain my composure before continuing this communication. My son and I witnessed the most horrifying sight of which I will never forget. Brownie's entire rear quarter side was completely ripped from his body. It appeared to be dragged into the woods with a trail of blood leading the way. The rest of the body laying up before us at the belly was ripped wide open. To my dismay and further examining my beloved horse, it had appeared that all of his entrails had been eaten or removed. The rest of the body lay undisturbed. However, I will never forget looking at Brownie's head and face, eyes wide open, his gum line raised, exposing his teeth. The look of terror in this wonderful animal's expression will forever haunt my inner being. I will not even express the effect that this had on my son. This part I will leave out of the story. Brad and I left the terrifying scene to get back home and prepare a proper burial for Brownie. We got to the barn and started to investigate and look for some kind of clues. My son, after a few moments mulling about the barn, had asked me, "Hey, Dad, we only have coyotes and black bears in these parts. What did this to Brownie?" I did not have an answer for my son, and he was right. No predatory mammals roam this part of New York. Something like a grizzly bear or a pack of wolves perhaps could do such a thing, but again, there are none in these parts. We have no mountain lions, and certainly a pack of coyotes did not do this. Furthermore, no animal has hands with opposable thumbs, which would have been needed to rip the heavy barn doors right off of the hinges. The doors were not run through and smashed. They were taken off with immense strength and power. Then my son noticed something. He called me over just outside of the barn's doors, about 20 feet away, where there laid a set of tracks. The tracks' impressions were clearly on display due to the longer grass and dew from earlier that had enhanced the prints, or shall I say, bipedal, oversized canine footprints. They measured 8 inches long and over 4 inches wide. I noticed a heel with no real observance of a canine pad. These were almost human feet. Long sets of phalanges like fingers extended outwardly. At the end of the phalanges, the ground was cut. It was cut into, as if the phalanges, or at this point long toes, had talons or claws extruded outwards that cut deep into the grass. I took a picture with my phone and intended to call Jed, my hunter and tracker friend. However, first, before that, Brad and I went back to tell the horrible news to Tina, and after consoling my wife, we went back and buried the remains of our pet Brownie. Jeb arrived early the next day, about 8 a.m. What he was about to tell me left me in disbelief, and for a moment I wanted to punch him squarely in the face. After reviewing the kill site, what barely remained of the tracks, and reviewing the picture, Jeb asked me, "What do you know about Bigfoot?" Bigfoot? I sarcastically yelled back, ready to knock him out with such absurdity. I was emotionally spent. How dare he make jokes? Sensing my anger, Jeb told me to relax, as he was deadly serious, and went on, "Look, Ted, Bigfoot does exist. However, you have a much bigger problem." I stared at him perplexed and asked him to continue. He went on, and what he told me was both terrifying and science fiction, meeting Lon Chaney Jr., werewolves, and Dogman. Jeb went on to tell me about cryptids being real, and in some cases, these dog-like creatures have been living and roaming the Appalachian Trail of the Hudson Valley for decades. Jeb had told me that he'd seen 2 Bigfoot and had a dog-like creature run alongside his four-wheeler. The creature, first on all fours, rose bipedally, racing past him, leaving a hideous grin as it jumped back into the woodline. I can't believe what I'm hearing. I had known Jeb for over 20 years and never knew that he was actively involved in looking for these cryptids. Also, the thing about Jeb, he is the most honest and down-to-earth person that I have ever met. Jeb is the type of guy that I would trust with my family's lives. Then after a minute of thought, Jeb asked, "What's the plan?" 1 week later, we packed 2 mules and headed into the forest. We decided to camp in the foothills of the mountains. We were firmly entrenched in a meadow with a perfect 360-degree view from all sides of our campsite. We brought plenty of dried food, water, and ammunition for a rifle, a shotgun, and an automatic. If what Jeb told me was true, and the way this Dogman so easily tore apart Brownie, I wanted to be fully prepared. After picking up not a single track, no sights, no sounds after 2 days, I began to get discouraged and wondered, just what were we doing here? Looking for werewolves, Dogman, and some beef jerky campaign referring to Bigfoot. I truly thought that I was losing my sanity. Then just after dark, sitting around our blazing fire, we heard a rustle just inside the tree line. Jeb and I stopped and listened. My skin got goosebumps. I grew cold at the sound of heavy, bipedal footfall pacing back and forth laterally at the wood's edge. The walking quickened and grew more violent. Then, springing out from the woods, an extremely tall wolf-like creature upon 2 legs raced directly towards us at a high rate of speed. It then dropped to all fours and raced in a circle pacing outside of the fire. It began to howl an insidious bestial cry. Then boom! A shot was fired by a poised Jeb, apparently striking the beast. The creature now stopped running about the fire and rose back to 2 feet and stared not at the man that fired the shot, but it looked squarely at me. It was a werewolf, just like the ones I saw in the movies. I was stunned and I could not move. The werewolf now slowly starts to walk towards me, when bam! Another blast from Jeb's rifle. The creature now set his focus on Jeb. As the beast turned to Jeb, it exposed its side profile. I do not know if I was imagining this due to shock or what, but the side profile of this creature seemed to morph into the face of a male human being. The human profile only lasted but a few seconds before it dropped to all fours and raced back into the woods. Both Jeb and I looked at each other. Jeb rather silently looked at me and said, "Do you believe me now?" I did not need to respond back to Jeb, as he knew my answer. We did not sleep a wink that entire night. Now daylight broke over the horizon. We examined the huge wolf tracks displayed all about the camp. What we found unusual is that there was not a single drop of blood anywhere in camp to be found. We followed the tracks back to the tree line, where they went from quadruped to bipedal, and again, no blood. We followed the tracks about 50 yards into the woods, and as if the sight of this creature and the human-like side profile was not enough, the most haunting experience of this entire ordeal unfolded. The huge bipedal tracks that we're following began to get smaller and smaller, and after several more yards completely took on the shape as a barefoot human being left behind impressions. We were now looking at a human foot complete with all toes, including the big toe, much like ours. After several more yards, the human foot took the form back into that of the wolf, much bigger, with the elongated flanges, familiar to those back at my barn. I completely broke down and started to pray to God while I wept. Jeb put a comforting hand on my shoulder and whispered into my ear, "Our work has just begun." Jeb and I have been hunting this creature ever since 2015 with no further sightings. Not even a single set of tracks can be found. No further clues. Perhaps this shape-shifting creature feels it has met his match. Or does he wait in darkness, ready to extract revenge? Ted. Wow. What do you guys think of that one? Definitely saw something, eh? What did he see? Has so much to unpack, you guys. First of all, the horrific consequence with his horse, the hinge ripped off the barn, these wolf-like tracks. Later on in the story, the wolf-like tracks turned almost human-like, firing at this creature, no blood, disappearing off into the darkness. Shapeshifter indeed. That's my initial reaction to this. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching this. Again, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. My book is on Amazon. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. And until next time, I am Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and enjoy your week.